the work that I have done and that I am hopefully proposing to do in blueberries. The first topic I'm going to talk about is managing spotted-winged Drosophila in blueberries without violating MRLs. Most of the insecticides that we have in blueberries were ones that we had prior to spotted-winged Drosophila coming in to our industry, and the use patterns and the MRLs for those products were not designed for control of spotted-winged Drosophila. And so the use of a number of our products are challenging to us because of MRL issues. I started this project in red raspberries about figuring out how to control SWD in red raspberries without violating the MRLs. We started a project in 2017, and we used the work based on the work we did in 2017 in red raspberries, where we had some really good success there. We started doing the same project in 2018 in blueberries. I had been doing some work in blackberries to control spotted-winged Drosophila and figured out how to control spotted-winged Drosophila in blackberries using tolerance-exempt products. And so we developed this program where we would start with the conventional harder products, the pyrethroids, organophosphates, carbamates, and then we switched over to tolerance-exempt products later in the season. We're finishing up a second year research in raspberries. The first year looked very good. In 2018, we started working in blueberries. We did this work in Franklin County. We used Elliott. Elliott's a later variety. It's more risk of having spotted-winged Drosophila. These Elliott's are 400 feet away from some blackberries that had some stunningly high spotted-winged Drosophila populations. And I just want to say in the blackberries, at the end of that trial, we're in our untreated check, we're getting 20 larvae per fruit. So the pressure was very high. We used an over-the-row sprayer. This trial was also conducted in Michigan by Rufus Isaacs. I was coordinated with the IR4 project, the treatment protocol reviewed by the industry. We took the samples after an hour, froze them, and sent them to a synergistic pesticide lab. Camille, are you here? There you are, Camille from Synergistic Pesticide Lab. Harvested August 2nd. This is what we're doing. We had these various treatments, like this is before harvest, then we had harvest, and then we switched to products that either were tolerance exempt, like Grandivo, or had residues that declined very quickly, like Delegate. Now, there are two parts of this trial. One is, can we get the residues under 4 MRLs? And the other part is, will these programs work for controlling spotted-winged Drosophila? And despite the fact that our plots were 400 feet away from some heavily infested blackberries, there was virtually no SWD in this trial, so we were not able to get efficacy data, but we did get residue data. This shows you up here is the date of application. Here are the treatments that we used. And I'll just show you that very low residues of imidan, although the danitol levels were pretty high. Over here, you can see what the MRLs are for imidan and danitol. This was kind of like an industry standard. But when we started putting in Delegate and Grandivo, we did danitol early. The residue levels were quite low. Delegate residues declined very quickly, and this is a program that would allow us to go into Taiwan, Japan, but not but you couldn't go into Canada because there's no tolerance for danitol. Another treatment we had looking at lanate early, and then switching to Delegate in Grandivo, and that virtually had no residues. This would be a program that would be virtually residue free. And so this is something that you can go into about any country. You could probably even go into the EU with this program. Treatment 4, lanate followed by delegate at the beginning, Grandivo following Grandivo, and the residue levels are virtually gone, non-existent. Here's another treatment where we did malathion early, then we went to Grandivo and delegate in a rotation, and again, virtually no residues. Treatment 6, lanate, danitol, amidan. This is more of a conventional program, and we still had some residues because we did not. Oh, we're back to treatment 1 here. I'm not sure why this is treatment 1. There's a little error in my slide I just noticed here. But anyway, there's on this one there were some residues on this one because we were not using the tolerance exempt products. Now this is actually, I said year 2, but this is the end of year 1 for blueberries, year 2 for raspberries. And we found that we can substitute tolerance exempt insecticides and produce blueberries that can get into these countries that have very low MRLs. The problem is we have to be able to show efficacy with these products. Now, I have shown efficacy with these products in blackberries. I also can tell you that like with a product like Grandivo is used on most organic blueberries for SWD control quite successfully. Almost all organic blueberries that have an SWD program have Grandivo in with it. But in this trial, we need to show efficacy and the residues. And we weren't able to do that because we did not have the insect pressure. And so the next year that we do this, we got to do it in a location where we have SWD pressure. Work in progress. The next project I want to talk about is developing organic controls for spotted-winged Drosophila in blueberries. And SWD there's no place that it is a bigger problem than organic blueberries. And Washington produces more organic blueberries than the rest of the country combined. In 2018, we produced roughly 30 million pounds of organic blueberries. At least 24% of Washington blueberry production is certified organic. California, Oregon produce maybe another 20 million pounds. And between Washington, Oregon, and California, that's probably 95, 98% of all organic blueberry production. So it's kind of a West Coast thing. And the growers have largely been reliant on a single product Entrust, which is also known as Success or Black Hawk in the conventional world. And the Entrust label requires growers to alternate. So that you cannot use just Entrust like the old days. You had to rotate. And there's a concern about whether we have effective rotational products. And this is a very high priority for the Washington blueberry industry, is to develop alternatives to Entrust. This is a copy of the Entrust label, and it says do not make more than 2 consecutive applications of group 5 insecticides. And I've got this highlighted. And if additional treatments are required, you've got to rotate to another class of effective insecticides. And historically, we've always said, well, what do you rotate to? It's kind of like trying to control mummyberry organically. There's just nothing out there that works. So that was a few years ago. And we're concerned because the over-reliance of Entrust will result in resistance. We know that in California, they've had SWD longer in time. They also have a longer period that they have to control it, and they have widespread resistance to Entrust and to spinosad in California. There are farm after farm after farm where they cannot use Entrust to control spotted-winged Drosophila because they've lost it, because they've just used it over and over and over again. And we know that oblique banded leaf roller has developed resistance in one organic apple orchard in Washington. Now, most organic blueberries in Washington are Dukes. Dukes are early. And if you grow Duke, you do not have the SWD pressure. There are fields in eastern Washington. There are Duke fields in eastern Washington that sometimes, depending on the year, have no SWD applications because there's simply no SWD around, particularly in years following more severe winters. Before, folks were relying completely on Entrust, but they cannot do that now. So we've been doing some work. This is my 1 acre of blackberries that I grow for research. I just want to point out that this is some asparagus here, and right over here is where the blueberry fields were, that the Elliots that didn't have spotted-winged Drosophila. We're using over-the-row sprayers. I just want to briefly review some of our past results. This is the number of spotted-winged Drosophila over time using Entrust and some other products. But if you put sugar in with Entrust, you get significantly better control. This is not rocket science. This is something I developed with WSU's Betsy Beers. We use corn syrup, and you mix corn syrup with Entrust. It's a feeding stimulant. They pick up more Entrust, they feed more, and you get a better kill. This is some other work we did looking at various kinds of control programs. This is the untreated check. And if you look at this program right here, this is Entrust rotated with Grandivo. And you can use Entrust rotated with Grandivo and get control that is comparable to comparable to conventional results. So that's 2016 and 2017. Well, we evaluated 22 different programs to control spotted-winged Drosophila organically, and I just wanted to point out that by the end of the season, the treatment, this is ranked by the highest efficacy. The treatment that was most effective was a product called Veritran. Now, no one ever ought to have Veritran in their chemical storage shed. Although it's organically certified, it's only registered on mango, avocado, and citrus, but it is a great organic insecticide. It's the active ingredient is Sabadilla. I'm trying to get a Section 18 for that, for organic blueberry control, and I couldn't. There's some regulatory hurdles. There's a bunch of work that needs to be done on this product, but anyway, Veritran was a very effective product. We're in the process of getting it registered on blueberries. Grandivo and Venerate were also effective products. We found that addition of New Film P improved efficacy. So that's some results from last year. I'm not going to spend too much time because I talked about it last year. So some things that we learned from 2017 is we went Veritran. Grandivo works against spotted-winged Drosophila. Before we had used sugar at 12.5% because we started at something that was high and found it worked really well. Last year we used 1% sugar, and 1% is not enough. Jet Activity, I forgot to point that out, has some activity. It's not a standalone product. It would be a rotational or a tank mix product. New Film improved activity of Venerate. And so this is our control recommendation for spotted-winged Drosophila. Now the points in orange are changes in our control recommendations based on our research from 2017. And I just want to tell you, if you're trying to control spotted-winged Drosophila, you have to rotate your products, high rates, tank mix, start early, and use short intervals. Now in 2018, we had the highest. This is my life. I either have pest pressure that's too high, like in this case, where spotted-winged Drosophila in this SWD trial in blackberries was almost too high, and 400 feet away in Elliots, we had no SWD. This year, I did something I haven't really done much before. I evaluating organic products, but people wonder, well, how good are they compared to conventional products? So I threw in some conventional products with my organic ones. I also include some experimental treatments, and I just want to say again, the pressure is really high. And this is my list of too many to fit on a screen, but this shows you this is a code name of a product called IKI. It's now, since I put this slide together, there's a new product coming out. It's coming on Blueberries. It's called Harvanta. It's like Xril. I'm thinking it's as good or better than Xril, but it's lower than Xril. And it may be packaged mixed with a cell. And you know, here's Volant Flexi, Manecto Pro. Here's the organic products. Here's some experimentals. Here's Entrust, Veritran, Ecotech. So why is Ecotech in there? Somebody is selling, trying to sell Ecotech as the next big thing. And of course, they're using the classic line of that's what they're using in California. So you know it's got to be good. So pay attention to where Ecotech comes out. Here's Delegate, the product I was talking about earlier. Here's Xril. Here's Warrior 2. And when you look at these, this is a trial. These are the results of the 25 treatments. This is a number per 20 fruit. And this is ranked by most efficacious after the 7 days after the second application. An experimental product, and by the way, I do not know what this product is. I just know it as a code name. I know what company, but I do not know what the product is. Here is Delegate, was the next most effective. Jet Ag and Grandivo, that's a tank mix with new film and sugar. Entrust rotated with experimental, and you just see, oh, by the way, the untreated is down here right next to Ecotech. So Ecotech was no different than doing nothing. If you look at the results over the course of the season, and the most effective product are Warrior, a pyrethroid, Delegate, Entrust rotated with experimental, and more of the conventional products. Now, I wanted to say this IKI is not currently registered on Blueberries, but it's in the process. Here was Entrust, the industry standard. Here was Veritran, a product that seems essentially as effective as Entrust, and Jet Ag tank mix with Venerate. And I just want to point out that Ecotech ended up being as good as doing nothing. And so this is a product that I think does not have a future. And some of the experimental products also look like they do not have a future. And it's good that I figure that out before you all figure this out. So these results are going to be used to help further refine our organic spotted-wing Drosophila control recommendations. I'm hoping that Veritran is going to be the next Entrust, and we can do an Entrust Veritran program, throwing in some other products like Grandiva or Venerate. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a couple of years. There's probably something like, and I don't know this, so I'm making this number up, but in the neighborhood of like $1 million worth of regulatory studies that have to be done. It's going to require, time and money. We need to find some more active ingredients. I'm just telling you, in general, it's hard to find organic insecticide that's effective. And sometimes I feel like half of the value that I'm doing is just pointing out what products don't work. You know, I feel good when I can find products that do work, but there is some value in pointing out that products like Ecotech and Azera for this pest and this crop probably don't have a fit, and you shouldn't be buying them. Now, I want to continue this work in 2019. I want to look at some new products, some new programs, and I don't know why it does not dawn on me. Like, for example, I didn't do a trial where a treatment, and it seems patently obvious now that I should have done it in Entrust rotated with Veritran, but for the life of me, I didn't think to put that treatment in. So there's some other things that we need to do. Also, 1% was too low. 12.5% is probably overkill. So I need to figure out where the sweet spot is for the level of sugar as a feeding stimulant. The last talk I want to give is on emerging pests. I don't have any data on this one, but historically, mites are not thought of as a pest of blueberries. You look up in the Pacific Northwest Handbook, and there is no mention of mites or miticides for blueberries. It's just not a pest, and there are no miticides registered. But mites aren't a pest of blueberries until they are. And 5 years ago, two-spotted spider mites became a recognized pest, and like a serious recognized pest of blueberries in Georgia. And after they started kind of looking around and literally refocusing and looking small, um, they found blueberry bud mite, broad mite, southern red mite. I have no idea what a southern, well, I did not know what a southern red mite was till I got involved with this. And they found that mites were significant problems, and that there are 4 species of mites that cause economic damage, and it's Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and in Georgia. And it's a really big problem. And it is as big of a deal down there as spotted-winged Drosophila. And in 2017, Whatcom County, somebody sent me, Steve Midbow sent me a picture, and it's like, here are mites on blueberries. And it's just like, it was hard for me to believe. And in 2018, there were lots of reports of mite damage on blueberries. I did a tour in August. If you know what you're looking for, it was easy to find. They're often long. It's a classic mite situation, into rows, long roadsides where it's a little bit more dusty. If you know what you're looking for, and I've done a lot of work on mites in potatoes, but this is the damage right here. And it starts more in the terminals. In potatoes, it's more of a problem at the bottom up, but here it's more the top down. This towards the base of the plant. You look back here, and it's not nearly as bad. There's more of this problem. It happens later in the season, which is a classic mite two-spot issue. Damage is very consistent on the shoots and leaves, moves out from there, and can't be good for the plant. We don't know really what the difference, the impact is, but on the later varieties, so this is Duke, this is going to be pretty much a post-harvest issue. But on something like Elliott or Liberty, this is going to likely result in reduced sizing of the fruit. But on all these varieties, I think it has the potential to impact production the next few years, because it's severely damaging your shoots, which is your production later in the years. Now, based on what was going on in the Southeast, the blueberry growers submitted some mite projects to get registered for the IR4 program. And just because I'm an entomologist and I'm really deep in the IR4 project, and I run the Blueberry Commission, they always run all these by me. I'll just tell you, there's a product called finperoxamite or Fujimite that's probably going to be the first one registered. And now we might get it next year or the following year. There's Canamite, acequinacil is the next one. And then the next one after that is abamectin, agramec. That's several years out. And I've been concerned, even though I am talking about how surprising this was to me, I was concerned that this could be an issue. For the past 5 years, when I talk about disease this afternoon, you're going to hear about how much warmer and drier it is. And I got some slides showing how much warmer and drier it's been compared to the past. And the warmer, drier is a serious risk factor for mite outbreaks, but also the products that we have to use for spotted-winged Drosophila are mite generators. We're forced to use the products because of MRL issues and efficacy and cost, so we're using things like pyrethroids, Danitol or Asana. And when I do mite research in potatoes, when I want to get mites on potatoes, I just spray a pyrethroid twice or 3 times. I will spray June 1, June 15th, July 1, and by July 15th, we have mites to do research on in potatoes. And it's not directly applicable, but it's generally applicable in this situation. And so I've been concerned about this. This is a very poor picture of a screenshot, but this is an email from the IR4 coordinator to me, February of 2016, before mites were a problem here. And I just said, it's quite possible we may see mites as a pest of blueberries in the West that we've not seen before. It's not necessarily the best writing, but this is me reviewing the acequinacil blueberry one. And Washington has been supporting and lobbying to get some miticides. because I've been worried that this may happen. So we have some things in the pipeline. However, these other mites they have in the southeast, southern red mite, and these other broad mites, which are area-phytrid mites, are more difficult to control than two-spot spider mite. And so they have been lobbying to register miticides that have activity. The acequinacil, the Fujimite, and the Canamite are not the best products for two-spot spider mite as compared to the other mites. And, you know, I do work, I've screened every miticide that there is on potatoes. And the abamectin is registered on potatoes, and nobody uses abamectin as a miticide because there are other products that are better. Now, people like abamectin because it's cheap, but they would rather pay a higher price in potatoes and get better efficacy. Acromite, Oberon, Onager in potatoes are the preferred product for two-spot spider mite, and virtually these three are the only three that are really used. And so I'm proposing to do an efficacy trial next year. It's very straightforward. I can do efficacy. I mean, that's what I do in life is do efficacy trials. I just need a cooperator with a location. There's a list of products that we want to do. There's some of the ones we want to include. Maybe we do this on an early variety, so it's post-harvest, so you don't have to worry about residues on fruit. Should be not a problem. You know, I just finished up a Banks grass mite in Oregon. Well, I guess that was the end of that talk. So we also, as part of that research, want to collect some data to see if we can kind of document the impact of this. Collecting information where we can show the losses would be very important because we may want to go, we are eligible to go for a Section 18. There are products that we can go for a Section 18 for, but we can't do it unless we can document the damage. So along with trying to line up look for some more additional product for miticides, we collect the data that gives the Section 18 to pick up a miticide maybe a year or two early. So I have 1 minute. That's pretty good timing.
That might be a first, actually, for Alan. Let's all be honest here.
Any questions? All right, that's great. No questions. I'm around till 10:45 tomorrow, but I want to put a plug in. We have a break. The next speaker is the marketing manager for the U.S. High Bush Blueberry Council and the North American Blueberry Council. She's got swag that she's going to put out, and she's going to give away something to somebody in the audience. And this is going to be a really, really important talk. So 11 o'clock, we want you to be back here. All right, Chris, what's next?
We've got a 15-minute break starting at a 10-minute, well, about 12 minutes we'll take, and starting about a little after 11. So we'll see you then.
If you do want credit, pesticide credits, we'll have a table set up where you can go ahead and get signed up. Look for either Beth or myself, and so we'll have that.
Yeah. So, oh well. Okay. Okay.
Excuse me. I don't want to.
Oh, lightning.
Yeah, he's gonna.
And then, yeah, and then we're gonna put some of this out. Is that okay?
Yeah. We just got to get the
I
pesticide
think
credits.
Alicia will do that.
Okay. Good job. I've been in the back, giving them time. Just do it as well, because we're done. Especially with that light, my God, is that bright? Yeah, I gotta deal with something real quick. So, but you're off the hook for this session. We've got. Ooh, that's really bad. Oh, just there.
You're JoJo. So you guys said the same thing.
Is there sound on any of these videos?
Yes, actually.
On this
all,
one?
all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I have to do anything?
No.
Yeah, I noticed that this morning. Oops. And I think I did mute when I was on the light. I did hit something down here outside of the PowerPoint when I was on the light.
Just going into lunch.
I think there's
All of them have sound?
yeah. So do you think maybe on the main bar or like, okay, right there, it's not muted?
No,
That's,
they're not. I think I knew what's going on. I just
oh,
gotta
good.
just hang tight. for a
Thank
second.
God we have you.
We do understand a lot of the issues that these growers are going through, and we try to move that needle to their favor.
So we really are working on creating an orderly market for them so they can keep farming, they can pass the business on to their sons and their daughters.
So I don't think that it matters if you're a corporate farmer or if you're a family farmer. I mean, we all have a common goal, which is to sell our blueberries at the best price possible. And that this organization
that too bright for you?
Little.
You can turn it. We're gonna try to turn it around.
I mean, yeah.
And this has sound.
We do understand a lot of the issues that these growers are going through, and we try to move that needle to their favor.
So we really are working on creating an orderly market for them so they can keep farming, they can pass the business on to their sons and their daughters.
So I don't think that it matters if you're a corporate farmer or if you're a family farmer. I mean, we all have a common goal, which is to sell our blueberries at the best price possible. And this organization helps us do that.
The reason we established the U.S. Irish Blueberry Council was to get wider participation amongst the industry and the market development and the promotional activities and the health research activities of the industry.
And I've been blueberry industry now for 3 years, and they are doing
That's kind of where we are in the research. Right along the way, 90% understand they don't understand why, but they understand blueberries are different.
I think there's been 2 studies done so far on blueberries that's been around, and both of those studies have shown
It's always growers' own mind because we are growers, and we do understand